To be notified of videos from this channel, please subscribe and press the bell icon. Hey guys, welcome back to the Savant Life, and firstly thank you so much for the tremendous response to the Duke 390 and the Duke 250 ride and review videos. When I put in all of that effort, time and energy into making these videos, to get such a wonderful response makes me feel like it's all worth it. What I also saw in the comment section was that a lot of people were saying they were kind of confused between the Yamaha FZ25 and the Duke 250 and wanted me to make a comparison video pitting the two bikes against each other. Well, ask and you should receive. So before we get started with the review itself, let me just quickly tell you that I'll be comparing both of these bikes on a few parameters. I've chosen 5 of them and an X factor. So I'll be comparing the Duke 250 and the Yamaha FZ25 against their looks, their power, speed and weight, which I'm combining into one, their refinement, pricing and purpose. And like I said before, I have an X factor that I shall tell you about in just some time. So let's get started with the looks of both of these bikes first. Now, anyone with 2 functioning eyes can tell you that both of these bikes look absolutely spectacular. Which bike you prefer actually just boils down to your own personal taste and preference. While some might have a penchant for the orange, white and black beauty of the KTMs, some people might prefer the subtle yet stylistic design of the Yamaha FZ25. Now personally, I think both of these bikes look great, and I would have a hard time choosing between 2 of them, but if I had to pick one, I would probably go with a Yamaha FZ25 in this department, only because I'm a Yamaha fan. I have currently a Yamaha FZ16 and I think I'm kind of a little biased in this regard, but if you said that the Duke 250 looks much better, I would not argue with that because I think both of those bikes look spectacular. However, one thing that I have to say is that I'm disappointed with the consoles of both of these bikes. I think the FZ25 has a very simplistic yet modern console, whereas the Duke 250 actually does not have a console that looks all that great, and neither does it have a touch of modernity associated with it. Now, even though I said that I prefer the looks of the FZ25 ever so slightly, I have to say that I'm not a big fan of the short stubby exhaust that the bike has. I think it does not go with the overall design of the bike, and it is quite an eyesore. Now let's get into it and discuss some numbers. The reason why I've combined the power, the speed and the weight into one category is because I truly believe that the interplay between these 3 elements dictates the performance of the bike. Now, the Yamaha FZ25 is capable of producing 21 bhp and roughly about 20 Newton meters of torque, whereas the Duke 250 produces a much higher 29.5 bhp with about 25 bhp of torque. Now, as far as the speed is concerned, the official numbers say that the Yamaha FZ25 is capable of 134 kilometers an hour, whereas the Duke 250 comes in slightly ahead with 138. Now, of course, these are numbers purely to be looked at on a website and to be taken with a serious pinch of salt, because when a website did comparison tests between both of these bikes, it turned out that the less powerful FZ25 was just a streak ahead when it came to the 0 to 60 and 0 to 100 acceleration tests. Now, there could be a number of reasons for this, considering that both of those bikes were tested in very different conditions, one in Goa and one in Pune, and also the weight of both of those riders could have been very different. But one of the things that we can clearly point to is the fact that the FZ25 is much lighter at 148 kgs, whereas the Duke 250 is significantly heavier at 161 kgs. Now, as far as refinement is concerned, I'm going to keep this short and simple in order to avoid any kind of controversy. The Duke range of bikes from KTM, or basically any KTM bike, is not known to be very refined. If you're looking for refinement, then clearly the Yamaha FZ25 is the way to go. Now let's talk about that one thing that might actually sway your decision one way or the other, and that is none other than the pricing of the 2 bikes. Now, not surprisingly, Yamaha has made a very smart decision by pricing this bike very aggressively for the Indian market at just 1.2 lakhs ex-showroom Delhi, which I think is a steal for everything that this wonderful machine has to offer. Now, on the other hand, the KTMs are known to be much more expensive, and not surprisingly, the KTM Duke 250 comes in at 1.73 lakhs ex-showroom Delhi. But if you're a KTM fan and if you truly want that experience, you're willing to shell out that extra money, it just might be worth it after all, because the pricing totally depends on what you want to get out of the bike, which brings me to my next point, the purpose. Now, although the purpose part of this review might seem very simple, because after all both of these bikes are in the same segment, they're naked street bikes, it is not as easy as that, because the purpose totally depends on what you might want to use these bikes for. Now, if you want to use it as a daily commuter bike in city traffic, which is mostly bumper to bumper, then the Yamaha FZ25 might be the slightly smarter choice. Whereas if you want to have fun with this bike and throw it around the corners and push it to the limits, then the Duke 250 seems like the more likely choice. But also, hey, if you're one of those guys, just like most of us, who has a little bit of a tourer in him, and you think that you might want to take this bike out for longer rides, then between the two, I would think that the Yamaha FZ25 would be a more sensible choice. But then again, if you want to tour on that Duke 250, and if you have the will and the courage to do it, then who am I to say that you can't? And lastly, the purpose of the bike is also very closely tied to your own personality. So if you're someone who is on the shorter side, then I think that you'll find the FZ25 to be more to your liking, because average heighted riders who are typically about 5'5" or 5'6" can ride this bike very comfortably and put both of their feet on the ground without struggling whatsoever. Whereas the Duke 250 might not afford you the same luxury. However, if you're above 5'7" or 5'8", or even if you're on the shorter side but you're an experienced rider, then I think you should be able to make do with a slightly higher saddle height of the Duke 250. And also there are various other factors like the sound, the brakes, the finish, and again, there is no scientific scale to measure these elements, which is the reason why I've kept them separate, because they more or less seemed equal to me when I test rode both of these bikes, and I would have to say that it would really boil down towards which bike you prefer the most. And that brings me to the last parameter, the X factor, which is relativity. Now you must be wondering, what does relativity have to do when you're comparing two different bikes? Allow me to explain. Now if you look at the Yamaha FZ25, it's clearly the most affordable 250cc premium bike in the Indian market, and as far as Yamaha's offerings are concerned, it is right at the top. It is their flagship product in the street naked segment in India. But if you look at the Duke 250, it is not the flagship product of KTM. It actually sits one level below, and it does not have a lot of the premium bells and whistles that the Duke 390 enjoys. So when you're paying 1.2 lakhs ex-showroom for the FZ25, you're getting Yamaha's best product, whereas when you're paying 1.73 lakhs for the Duke 250, but it still isn't KTM's best product, which clearly right now is the Duke 390. So finally, who wins the battle between the Duke 250 and the FZ25? Well, I would have to say that it comes down entirely to your own preference. If you're looking for stability, refinement, styling and comfort while being on a slightly limited budget, then you can't do much better than the Yamaha FZ25. However, if you dream orange and black and you're looking for a grunty, rip-roaring bike that will help you zip around in city traffic, then the Duke 250 certainly comes up a winner. But ultimately, guys, motorcycles are purchased straight from the heart and not by actually drawing up a formula and comparing feature with every single feature. So I would suggest go out there, take a look at both of the bikes, and go with the one that actually makes your heart skip a beat. Alright, that is it for me. I hope you found this video useful and it helped you in reaching a decision, or at least getting closer to one. If it did, then do hit that like button, and if you have any questions for me, then drop them in the comment section below. I will get back to you as soon as I can, and also please do share the video and help the channel grow if you like the content. And as always, if this is your first time around with the Savant Life, then do hit that subscribe button and also click on that bell icon in order to be part of the notification squad. But what is this notification squad? In case you're wondering, well, basically now YouTube is going to let you know every single time I put out new videos about bikes, about reviews, about rides, about motovlogs, basically anything under the sun. You will be one of the first to know, so do hit that bell icon once you've subscribed. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you the next time around. Until then, thank you so much and ride safe.